Well, a new report from the Pentagon says progress is being made in the war in Afghanistan. So how will that, coupled with the recent death of Osama Bin Laden, affect this summer's planned troop withdrawal? Our correspondent Jeff Napshin takes a closer look from Washington.
Despite continued violence and the deaths of Allied soldiers, a new report from the Pentagon paints a hopeful picture of the war in Afghanistan. The report on progress toward security and stability says there have been major successes on the battlefield and the insurgency is in retreat. But is this picture overly optimistic?
It's impossible to judge from this distance. This is something that we ought to have learned in 10 years of fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. The picture that we have in Washington or away from the battlefield is always 6 months, 9 months, and in Afghanistan as much as a year behind.
Thomas Donnelly directs the Center for Defense Studies at the American Enterprise Institute. He says we have to place our trust in General Petraeus, who's commanding the operation there. But Jason Campbell from the RAND Corporation believes there are still many problems.
It certainly put a lot of emphasis on the success thus far in growing the Afghan security forces. There is less detail with regards to how well these new troops are going to be able to fight and to hopefully, after a period of transition, be able to take on the Taliban and other insurgent elements by themselves.
Experts say there have also been significant shortages of foreign trainers. Economic development is falling behind, and massive corruption affects all levels of government. The report was written weeks ago, and much has changed since then, including the death of Osama Bin Laden. The big question now is how his death will affect the troop withdrawal, scheduled to begin in July. Thomas Donnelly thinks Bin Laden's death will have a big impact.
The American public is war-weary. Many politicians of both parties, on the left and the right, are likewise anxious to bring the troops home.
Around 100,000 U.S. troops currently serve in Afghanistan. The drawdown is expected to accelerate until 2014, when NATO has set a target of handing over lead authority to the Afghan army. While there is now a light at the end of the tunnel, Jason Campbell says the U.S. needs to be careful to maintain a strong presence of combat troops.
It's not just about defeating al-Qaeda and its leadership as it currently exists, but also preventing Afghanistan from once again becoming a terrorist haven that led to the planning and the carrying out of the September 11 attacks.
Jeff Napshin, CCTV, Washington.